We're the Meltdown here with a spoiler review of one of our most anticipated movies of the year, and that would be Sinners from Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan. They have teamed up yet again. Did they make a movie that is absolutely awesome? Spoiler alert, yes, they did. And we're going to talk about it here. There's going to be all kinds of spoilers as we get deep into territory of what we witnessed watching Sinners. I am Tim Melton here in the Culver studio. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, some say even my twin brother, Tyler Lionel Johns. Tyler, how are you, man?
I'm good. I've just been traveling.
We've never,
Oh, such a good song.
just right off the bat, we've never been confused as twins, but, I like to think of that in my head.
I mean, maybe if we were like doing a remake of Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold,
Absolutely.
we would be good picks.
That could work. It would be starring, Mark Gasol and Ed Sheeran. We have Hunter Bussey here with us in studio, and you've made some time for us. I specifically wanted you for this discussion today because we got a chance to see a movie that Tyler and I have heralded as the best movie of the year so far. I think you would agree.
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk about what makes Sinners work so well. Obviously, it is a movie that is a gangster crime film set in the 30s. It is a film that's also considered a Western. Oh, and oh, by the way, it has vampires in it. It's a horror movie as well. It's culturally, it seems very significant. I hope that it certainly finds a passionate audience. I think it already has found a lot of people that have become very passionate about it. I'm going to start with Tyler on this because there's this craving always for original content. And this fits that bill exactly, but it feels also very familiar, which I think is
Yes.
the secret sauce, right? People want original content, but they also want stuff that goes down the hatch, and it feels like, okay, I kind of know what we're going for here. And I feel like Sinners is a perfect blend of that. Do you agree?
I agree with that. Like you said, it's an original story. I don't believe this is an adaptation of any book. This is all from Ryan Coogler, and it was fantastic, but it does feel familiar. You get that sort of Fright Night vibe with the vampire stuff. They're not allowed to enter unless you invite them inside. The way the town is set up and the way characters are introduced, it reminds me a lot of Killers of the Flower Moon. And yeah, all of these familiar sources just blend together in a nice way that I think everybody can find something they like in this film.
Yeah, I've made the joke that it's kind of a mix between "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" and the vampire musical from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Because who would have thought on paper, when you just look at the ingredients here, that an erotic vampire musical would work so well? But that's exactly what we get here with all these pieces sort of blended together.
And
Uh,
I'm a notorious musical hater.
you
So,
are,
and I was like, "Come on, keep this music going. I love this old blues we got going."
yeah, and
Um,
I
Fantastic.
it absolutely fantastic. Some things could be jarring, but seeing them fully realize they're not. They blend perfectly. Oh, the vampires are trying to sing you into their lull and, then take advantage of you. Like, I'm all about it. They sounded so good. They were harmonizing perfectly, and I just thought it was great. Hunter, the music
Blues
in this,
music also summoned SoundCloud rappers.
also true. Hunter, the music in this is such an important element, and they get it so right. What do you make of the score, the soundtrack, and the way that music is intertwined into the film, almost, once again, representing a character itself?
I mean, in a way, it's literally the heartbeat of the film if you think about it. Because without the main character, this I feel like this story wouldn't make any sense without I can't remember his name off the top of my head now.
Sam,
Yeah,
Preacher Boy.
Sammy, yeah, and Sammy.
Yeah.
But without his character, I feel like this movie would be duller, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because everything like from start to finish, like there's a mention about a guitar, and literally in the first 5 minutes, guitar. It's just the whole movie could not do what it did without his character, I feel like.
Let's talk about Sammy. There's one scene I've alluded to on our live show, blew me away, is when Sammy's performing and you see all the generational talent that's spawned
Mhm.
from the foundation of this musical experience, and you're seeing them intertwined into the crowd, and you're hearing them collaborate on screen, and you're seeing so much culture. I said in my out of the theater reaction, this is a movie that could have been constrained by its time period, but instead opens the door to be relevant throughout multi generations of artistic expression. And it's such a smart way to go about it because this feels fresh and new and young and hip and alive when it could have felt distant and old and
Mhm.
of the past, and it could have been hard to connect to. And I feel like that's such a big swing and it's such a big hit that's a home run out of the ballpark.
And it's even crazier when you think that the mythos that Sinners is building on is well over 100 years old. I believe I mentioned this on the live show, but Sammy feels like a stand-in for Robert Johnson, who is the king of Mississippi Delta blues, and the Mississippi Delta is where Sinners takes place. And Robert Johnson, he's best known for songs like Crossroad Blues and Me and the Devil Blues, which if you take the lyrics from those songs, they caused a bit of a rumor around him locally, a little urban legend that he walked down to the crossroads, met a man in a pinstripe suit, and sold his soul in exchange for endless amounts of guitar skill. And I like how Sinners sort of takes that urban legend as fact and then builds on it.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh yeah, that happens and it's been known to happen as long as that person is expressing themselves truly through their music.
Wow, really deep analysis there, and appreciate that you went there. I'm not going to sound too deep when I say this, but it is a conversation point. This is a movie that needs to be seen, Hunter, on the big screen. It needs to be
Mhm.
seen with the sound system of the theater.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that are going to wait for this thing to show up on Max. And one thing that's interesting is I don't know if you guys heard this, but like in 30 years or so, Ryan Coogler and his family get all the rights to the movie. Like they revert from Warner Brothers back to him and his family.
Wow.
It's like in 30 years, it was like a first of its kind deal to get him to do this picture for Warner Brothers. So like
Cha-ching.
30 years from now,
Is Warner Brothers selling off future rights to save money now?
I'm just saying it, it's
Eh,
it's going to be interesting to see what that business model looks like if it's employed more often with
Right.
some of these huge filmmakers that are in demand. But that's a little side business thing there for you. But like this needs to be seen not on Max or not at the Kugler estate. It needs to be seen in the theater with that
Yes.
sound system piping in, and just hope you got a good crowd, hope you got a good experience, good theater experience, because man, I know of people who have had bad theater experiences with this movie so far, and they're like, I'm going to a completely different. I love the movie so much. I'm willing to go to a completely different theater chain or different city to watch this a
Mhm.
second time because I want to get that full experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel it down in your core, this film. It's an
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah, it's great. I'm seeing it again Sunday night, after I get back from Easter festivities. I saw it in the Summit Theater last night. I'm gonna go see it probably in Vestavia at the Prime, Theater. So we'll see,
I'm
how it
jealous.
goes from there.
That
I,
that's
So,
the correct move as
yeah.
someone who saw it in the prime
I've, I've,
theater.
I've got to see it in the AMC Prime Theater probably Monday. I probably have to see
Yeah.
it Monday. I'm very excited. I got to talk about this. Delroy Lindo, come on,
Fantastic.
stole the
So
show,
good.
right? Stole the
Yes,
show.
loved him as Slim. Um, I remember him from Blood In, Blood Out, and other movies like that, and he was just perfect as the comic relief for this movie. Um, I mean, my theater laughed out loud several times from some of his lines because his timing was just absolutely perfect.
See, I get I get criticized a lot for not liking horror comedies from the Meltdownian crowd, and that's fair because I just don't like horror comedies. But I like comedy in horror when it's done right,
Mhm.
and this is an example of the proper tension breaking to where you have crazy events that you feel like are brought back down to be connective reality at the perfect time. The timing, the beats on those jokes, very, very funny. When he's eating the garlic and he has that reaction, I could feel the whole audience going, "Oh, please, no, not him."
Yeah.
Like there was that connection of like, "Oh, please, like let it just be some. It's going down the wrong pipe," and thankfully it ended up being that. But I thought he was such a standout there, especially upon a first viewing where there's so many characters being thrown at you. And this is a weird take here, but I mean, you tell me if you agree. There's that one shot in the town when Lynn is asked to go get her mother, from the general store to end up coming up with the signage for the place.
Mhm.
And then they start throwing in the flowers and all that. They're working out the deal and they're negotiating properly, as we learned, which is what you should do. And like Lynn as a character, the daughter,
Lisa.
Lisa, I'm
Lisa.
sorry, Lisa. Lisa as the daughter there. Um, I cared about her when she wasn't even on screen, but for like 2 minutes in the movie.
Oh yeah, like later on when Mrs. Childs says like I've got to get home, they just threatened my daughter. You think like, yeah, she's probably still standing back there behind the
Yeah.
counter like,
Yeah,
man, wonder when I can close up and go home.
They
just
even they show a flashback of her standing in the window of the front door
Mhm.
mhm.
because
And
that
I
was the last time she saw her daughter.
that if
Yeah.
you can make me care about a character that's on screen for that limited amount of time and genuinely care about their well-being, you've done something right.
Mhm.
You've made the threat that much more important. You've made all of the town's fate that much more important. And I thought that that was just a great way to really get the audience to connect even further to what could be the ramifications of a full-on attack on the town, which is what leads me to Jack O'Connor, because him as sort of the vampire ringleader here, him as the devil, him as whatever sort of
Mhm.
character you want to point out. I don't know what he's billed as, but
I believe his character's name is Remick,
okay, Remick.
as
Yeah.
and I assume vampires because was it Anne or Annie that mentioned the
Yeah.
legend of the vampires and everything like that.
Yeah. Remick in this, eh, he absolutely eats up all the scenery. Jack O'Connor in
Mhm.
this. He's menacing, but charming, but creepy, but terrifying, but like just sounds like an angel, but is really the worst side of demonic that you can have. I mean, it's just like there was this depth given through the performance. And then you get the Irish jig as well of all the dancing and stuff. What
Yeah.
did you make of the actual threat level in this? Because it's pretty intense.
It was, and, like, off the bat, whenever his character's introduced, when he's being chased by, I'm assuming, what was it, the Choctaw
Yeah, the
gang?
Choctaw
Yeah,
tribes, yeah.
and, he was burning in the sunlight already.
Mhm.
And that was, your indication, like, okay, this is the big bad. But like just his like, oh my gosh, I need help. I need help. They're trying to kill me. And then, that person says, whatever you just let in your house, if he's in your house, you have really messed up. And I felt that like, yeah, because he was scorching before he even got up to the front door. So yeah, he overall, I liked his like the scene that you were referring to where Sammy's performing and all the generational talent from, past, future, present is all kind of intertwined. And they're all three standing there kind of observing, and it looks like the place is on fire around, like there's no walls or anything.
Mhm.
And he's just standing there with that, kind of smile. Like I found the person that summoned me
Yeah.
type of thing. I was like,
So, like,
hey, it's
some people may be watching this going, why don't the vampires? I mean, they seem pretty powerful. Why don't they just barge in there and just take
yeah,
care of business? It's part of the lore that they have to be invited in, which is why they're constantly trying to find that hook to be able to get that
yeah,
invitation to come in. They finally do get it there, but and how realistic that battle would play out with the limited amount of weaponry that the few remaining souls have against this horde of vampires. I'm not sure how, I'm not going to hold that against the movie. There's a lot of emotion there, but I mean, it seems like the vampires would easily overwhelm them if you're just being logistic about it. And I am now. I'm getting into negatives. I sound like a negative Nancy, negative Nelly, but it is kind of the truth. But they envision, burning the place down because that's one way that vampires can sort of get. If they can't get invited in, they can get the party to come out by just burning the place down. There's also, there's that scene where they're all catching fire when the sun comes up. I'm
yeah,
kind of jumping ahead here, but like they're surrounded by water, but they don't go in the water,
yeah.
and the reason is
Well,
because
you can't.
you can't. You can't cross the water if you're a vampire or whatever, right? So, like, there's going to be people that I think that don't know vampire lore that maybe have some questions as to, well, why did they do this and why didn't they do that? But it kind of like, once again, you do your research, you study, you watch it intently a second, third time. I think this is a movie that gets better on repeat viewings for sure. What did you think about the actual vampire design? I love the red glowing eyes.
The red glowing eyes was a nice touch.
What about the drooling?
Oh, I thought that was fantastic. Got a little bit weird later on,
Yeah.
but at first it's just like, oh, yeah, they're hungry, hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought it was solid design.
the drooling there for sure. Um, Hailee Steinfeld, I mean,
Josh Allen, you lucky man.
okay. I'm glad somebody said it. I mean, like, she's really, really beautiful in this movie. I mean, like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, the women in this movie all have a chance to kind of really make their presence
Yeah.
known, and they do. And Haley Steinfeld probably gets the best of it there with just being on display, and
No
that's all I
wonder
will say.
Shamik Moore's been acting so wild.
There we go. I
Yeah,
see why.
that southern accent, he's probably acting up, man. It's
I see why Stack wants to live forever. That makes sense now. But what did you stay for the post credit or the mid credit scene and all
yes,
that? So
yes,
good.
but I did find out there was one after,
Yeah.
but I found that one on Twitter. It wasn't hard to find, but it was, like, just showing off, I think, what, like, his vocals, Sammy's vocals.
So I did not stay for the post credit
Yeah,
scene
Yeah,
I
me
didn't
in the
see
neither.
that
movie,
one either. I saw when uh the older version of Stack and Mary go into the bar in Chicago that Sammy's playing at while Sammy is at towards the end of his life.
which I thought was awesome.
I thought that was great.
Set there in the 90s, great back and forth. And that's when Sammy says that line about how before all that happened, it was the best day of my life.
Mhm.
And you feel it from the younger performance, from the older veteran performance here that you're seeing. And you really, I mean, the the hidden message that's in this movie is not so hidden. I mean, it's pretty prevalent there. But the message about how you should follow your heart and put yourself out there in a creative way at any cost. And really, if you're committed to doing that and living that life, um, you should chase that path. And it's in here. It's something weirdly motivational about this movie. About Sammy didn't sell out or anything. He took the risky road and decided to go down that path and couldn't have lived any other way and was willing to die for that dream. And I think there's something very beautiful about that when it comes to the arts and creativity and putting yourself out there on display, not to get all touchy feely here. But I do like that very much. And if you look at it from Smoke's perspective, right? Not only does he have a child die in, his story, which is tragic, he also then has to witness his already deceased brother who's turned into a vampire, then murder the love of his life.
Mm.
And then he has to go finish the job and drive a stake through her heart. I mean, that's an emotional reckoning that is happening there for that character. And I think Michael B. Jordan does such a great job of playing both sides of the coin, and it doesn't feel cheap in any way. What did you make of? I can't believe we've gone this far without talking about Michael B. Jordan, but what do you think about his performances, his dual performances in this movie, Tyler?
It was fantastic. He plays that sort of cockiness of Stack very well, while also having this sort of like calm, rational, yet cold feeling from his portrayal of Smoke. Like when you see him shoot that one guy for trying to steal his truck, shoots him right in the tuchus.
Yeah,
It was and then he shoots the other guy in the knee. It's like, well, I can't have you walking away without any kind of limp and have you telling the story about it.
exactly right. And, that's the part of the movie that is going to get slammed for being maybe too slow, too drawn out. Oh, we don't get vampires till an hour and 10 minutes into this thing or whatever it is. It's like those are fair criticisms if you're already sort of checking out throughout that hour period. But after you get through the whole movie, I feel like it's very difficult to have those criticisms of like the payoff wasn't worth the journey, And what do you make of the pacing of this? There is a better cut of this movie, in my opinion,
Mhm,
but it's a real risk taking that slow burn approach in today's modern audience where we expect everything like get to it, come
mhm.
on. But it pays off in a way that is so rewarding because you care about these individuals.
I don't think you can build the world out to the level that Ryan Coogler does in this film without it feeling a tad bit bloated. You can't get to know all the individual citizens of the town, both brothers, their backstory, why they ran from Chicago, and then also set up the vampires if you don't take that hour to get to know everybody first. Otherwise, you've got what is basically the equivalent of the Pooniverse movies where you're not expected to care about any of the characters, and the whole thing is just like, oh, well, that looks kind of fun. That was a fun kill, and story takes a total backseat if if it isn't completely forgotten altogether.
Hunter, is there anything about this movie experience that really surprised you? Because going in, you kind of expect it's going to be a Michael B. Jordan led affair. There's going to be vampires. It's going to be kind of scary, gory, disgusting, whatever. There's going to be some music in there.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you found in this to have really like surprised your senses or something you took away where you're like, I didn't think I would like that much?
Um, I mean, it wasn't really something in the well, I mean, it was in the movie, but nothing like, story-wise. It was more of whenever you have somebody playing the same, one actor playing 2 characters, in this case, Michael B. Jordan playing twins. Normally, it kinda looks kinda wonky and off, but, like, there's a scene, like, in the first, 10 minutes where they're waiting on that guy to sell them the
Mhm.
property for the juke joint, and they're passing each other a cigarette. So smooth, so smooth. It didn't look wonky, it didn't look, like, "Oh, the cigarette's here, and now it's here," you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it looked so smooth, and, props to the Coog, you know what I mean? He did it, he knocked it out of the park. Kinda what you were talking about with, like, the the way that the story was kinda done. I like how they emphasized, like, these were not your run-of-the-mill, like, "Oh, yeah, they're gangsters, cool," but they worked for Al Capone.
Hmm.
Like, they emphasized that, so we're like, "Hey, those yeah, they work for Al Capone." They're
Not
ru
only that, but ripped off Al
Yeah.
Capone
yeah,
and the Irish
yeah,
mob at the same time
yeah,
and dipped.
yeah, 'cause they're
Didn't you get the sense that there was going to be payback for that in the movie?
yes.
I was worried about it, and I think that again just speaks to the level of world building because that threat doesn't have to be paid off. I mean, the story's more about their return to town and then dealing with the vampires while they're opening the juke joint, whatever. But the threat was there. That threat was real.
Yeah. I'll tell you the scene that could have easily been cut out, but I'm glad they didn't, was when they were enforcing sort of house rules justice
Mhm,
on that guy in the back and just beating him to a bloody pulp, basically without having to really show you, just showing the kicking motion over and over and over again. But like it really showed the level of intense crime drama, mob violence. Like you felt like at any point things can turn south. And one thing I just absolutely loved and adored. As a kid, I used to play this game called Six Shoot Sam that I came up with where it's like
mm,
you leave a room and you come back and you have to like it's a role playing game where you have to kind of like make the other person believe you're the same character as when you left. And sometimes you are and sometimes you're not. It's like just Western play game. And that's exactly what they're doing in this. They're playing Six Shoot Sam at the door of like, oh, I'm the same guy, let me in, and it's like, no, not so fast. We need to hear about all this. And this is a weird thing for me to admit. But I used to play that game all the time with my friends and stuff. We used to have this like weird we would run this shop or something, someone would leave, they'd come back, and we'd sort of play this role playing game. And the fact that they did that as a plot device in this movie really connected with me. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world, seeing my childhood game sort of on the big screen there, which was a lot of fun. And it created a lot of good dialogue back and forth. It also ended up leading to what to me a clear callback to The Thing, where they're doing this garlic test. And that is like the thing of them trying to figure out, who it is they can trust at the base.
Yep.
There's kind of an element of The Thing within this movie. Don't you agree with that, Tyler? One of your
I
favorite movies.
I agree with that 100%. There is that whole element of, well, who is it and who can you trust? And then when somebody returns, Cornbread, played by Omar Benson Miller, I loved him in this
It was
yeah,
movie.
great.
so
He,
good.
I know him best as Eminem's friend in 8 Mile, but you can also see him in 2007's Transformers. That's my other favorite role he has played. But it was great when he's coming back from, taking a leak and they're just like, "Huh? I don't know. I don't know if you're the same person." He's like, "Oh, come on, just let me in. Just tell me I can come in." It's like, "Wait a minute. You've been in and out of this door
Mhm.
all day long.
Yep,
You haven't asked once."
exactly. No, it's good stuff there. And
So good.
I've seen reviews of people that say that they're scared to go to the bathroom after this because of what happens to Cornbread there. And I'm like, wow, that was the same effect in Scream too. So I mean, it's like certain horror movies, they make you scared to go to the bathroom for sure.
And Terrifier 3.
And Terrifier 3 for sure. We're going to get to our final thoughts here as we wind down this spoiler review of Sinners. I'm very excited about this. is it Miles Caton? Is that his name
Yes.
that plays Sammy?
I'm not sure if it's Caton or Caton.
Either
I
way,
think it's Caton.
I assume Caton. That's probably more accurate.
either way, I think we're gonna all look back and be like, "Oh, we know his name now,"
Oh, yeah.
because, like, this was his first credited acting role. I mean, they found pretty much an unknown to come in and just that role is so important to get right.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Like, you have to be rooting for that kid and for him to follow his dreams, his journey. You have to believe that he wants to be the best on stage. You have to believe that he wants to go down that road in order to make this work. It's what makes the very final scene, I say very final scene, but the mid-credit scene, it's what makes that work, is you have to believe in that character. So, I mean, what an all-star job
So
there.
I this is just a quick aside about Miles Caton. I pulled him up real quick. So this is his first film role, but he is an R&B performer with a background in gospel music.
I believe it.
He began singing at the age of 2 and was considered a child prodigy.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Look, they're
Y
starting to give awards out now for casting directors. Um, this one needs to be considered.
It
This
needs
one
to
needs to be
it needs to
considered.
win. That Miles Caton was scatting. He was killing it.
He was. We talked about so much the production design, the costume design. It's so exceptional in this. The sound design. There's so many elements of this. The only negative that I've really pointed out, there's two of them. One is the second trailer spoiled too much. You cannot spoil the turn of one of the brothers. You cannot spoil, Hailee Steinfeld being, you know, turned into a vampire and
I
get
say
away
you
with it.
keep the entirety of the vampire thing just under wraps
Yeah.
and have that be like the wildest second act twist of all time. So wait a minute, I thought I was watching a gangster movie and now there's vampires we got to worry about too?
I understand having to sell tickets, and the vampire stuff had started to leak anyway, but you
Mhm.
don't show who turns into a vampire
No,
because it
absolutely.
really took away a lot of the narrative weight of what because the pacing in the movie is so slow. You already know that's going to happen. And I was so disappointed. I've been on record saying that. I've been so disappointed that they showed all that in the second trailer.
But do
And
we hold
that
that
remains.
against the movie
I do.
or the marketing department?
Oh, both. I
I
mean,
mean I mean it's
Warner
both,
Brothers.
but I'm saying like do you hold it against
the
say
I hold it against the experience of watching the movie, which
fair
is
enough.
ultimately the murder weapon is held by the marketing department. But, like, it's unfortunate that that stuff couldn't it's 2 huge turns.
Yes.
Like, these are 2 of the biggest characters in the entire movie,
No,
and
I agree.
they they wasted it in the trailer. I was mad when I watched the trailer. I
Yes.
watched it and said, "Tyler, don't watch this trailer." Like, and then you got forced to watch it because you go to the
Yeah.
movies a lot, and I understand, but, oh, I'm still angry about it. I was angry about it then, and I fell into a trap. I'm angry about it now. So, I am angry about that. Warner Brothers, you screwed up in that. Second thing is, it's so good. There's so many good themes that it's like I was stuffed by the time I got to this. I mean, I had so much to process that was working its way through my brain, and there's so many themes that I think the negative that I'll say on that is I think it can be pretty overbearing and overwhelming for someone on their first watch of this.
Yeah, it's like a really nice dinner with like a select course of meals, and the chef comes out before each one and tells you about it. It's like I'm just now finishing the cheesecake. Like, let me process all this. I can't take all of this historical context behind each dish
You
right
took
now.
my buffet analogy and you improved it. Good to you, sir. That was excellent. You really did. You really did. That's exactly right. It was a great meal, but I was like stuffed afterwards. And I need to like have some time to digest, go back and just
Little
select
palate cleanser.
a little palate cleanser. It's a lot to digest. So we're going to get into our final grades here of Sinners. I'm going to start off with Hunter. Hunter, final thoughts, where you are on it right now. We've all seen the movie once. I would have loved to have seen this movie 2 to 3 times before shooting this review.
Mhm.
I'm upset that like we have to do it after one viewing because it
Yeah.
is such a big
It's a
project.
it's a banger. It's
It's a banger, and that's like a weird negative to have about it, but it's like
Mhm.
overstuffed with so much good sugary substance. What's your final thoughts on Sinners after your first viewing, which I assume is about to ratchet up to a bunch more?
Yes, so and you're not wrong about that, I'm seeing it again. So, um, and what you were talking about with the trailer, I never got to see the second trailer. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was with y'all seeing the companion, and it showed, in that screen unseen for the companion. I said, "Okay,
Good for
Michael B.
you.
Jordan with a Tommy gun." I'm not mad at that. And then, I heard all over Twitter, if you want to see Sinners, do not watch the second trailer. So I stayed away. I haven't been to the movies since The Companion.
Good for you.
Okay. So the whole Hailee Steinfeld, turn into a vampire, had no idea that was coming. And also shout out to the makeup department for the bites. I'm assuming those were Michael B. Jordan's bite on his neck. That was disgusting and it
Oh
looked
yeah.
real. And I said props to whoever did the makeup for that because it looked so good.
Practical effects are fantastic in this.
Yes. But overall, I gave it a 10 out of 10. On my Instagram, I have a thing called Solid Flicks, and I call it was a solid flick, 10 out of 10. Letterbox gave it 5 stars. It's overall with the slop we've had this year, I've had no reason to even go to a movie theater. Was excited for this after seeing that one trailer, and plus Ryan Coogler is known; he's got a good track record. Regardless of what you think of Black Panther Forever, I thought it was good. Overall, great. Great movie, banger, should be in the, I know it's early, it's April. We're in the conversation for, director,
Yeah.
like best actor, supporting cat, like the whole thing needs to be the costumes. Costumes. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it on the live show today. Same person did Black Panther,
Yes.
right?
Ruth Carter.
Yeah, like Ryan Coogler's very Nolan in his I'm gonna keep the same people and let's go with it. And he had a little touch of Quentin Tarantino with the violence in this movie too. So he's climbing up my ladder as far as
Yeah,
directors, and I'm a big fan.
you could definitely see that end sequence as like a reference to Django.
Yes, 110%.
And I'll still say that I think there's some John Carpenter influence in here for sure. I haven't heard that, but I'm sure if I dive deep, there will be something that pops up of some John Carpenter being shouted out at some point. But Tyler, I want to get to your final thoughts after your first viewing of Sinners because, man, I'm happy when a movie actually delivers.
Oh, me too. This is the kind of movie that I want to revisit and also watch some video analysis type essays on because there's so much you could dig into, whether it's the music aspect or the voodoo aspects or the historical aspects of what was going on in the Mississippi Delta in the 30s. You could get into the true crime aspect with the Capone stuff. I mean, it's just everything I want in a movie. It was a full meal, and I look forward to seeing it again and seeing what else I can pick up on. Um, Initial score 4 to 4.5, much closer to a 4.5, but I can definitely see it pushing
Yeah.
into that 4.5 to 5 star range after a rewatch.
After the first watch, I was at a 4. I've still only seen it once, but I have not stopped thinking about it, and it has now improved to a 4.5. And I like to see where it settles. Where does it settle? And I'm going to go watch it again with the best sound in town and see if I can make that pop even more. We'll see. I do have this. I was going to kick myself if I didn't get to this with you. Last year, one of your favorite movies was Nosferatu.
Oh yeah,
This year, it's Sinners.
yeah.
Typically, people like to play the comparison game. Which one do you like more, Nosferatu or Sinners? That's not even what I don't even care about you answering that question.
Okay, good,
I'm not going to put that to you.
good.
Okay. But what I do care about is like vampire fans right now are eating good. I mean, like literally,
Mhm.
it is just got to be heaven to be a diehard vampire fan right now.
Oh yeah, like last year they were drooling like Haley Steinfeld, just hungry, famished, and now we're just gluttonous, sitting back with some of the best movies we've gotten in recent memory.
Back to back bangers,
Oh yeah,
all timers for the
absolutely.
vampire genre, and two very different vampire movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nosferatu being that classic gothic horror, and Sinners being, like we've said, a mix of the gangster movie plus having that sort of southern horror. It's great.
I will take the cinematography of Nosferatu,
Yes.
and I will take the sound design
Yes.
of Sinners, and I will champion them as being two of the best in those fields in the history of cinema. Cinematography of Nosferatu is outstanding.
It just goes hard. There's so many shots where you could just say, like, give me a still of that and hang it up in my house.
Beautiful. And then the sound design for this is so important. They get it so right. There's a scene where they're recounting a lynching that took place,
Mhm.
and the sound
Yeah.
that was no one's
Mhm.
talking about this. The sound, they don't show you a thing,
It made me so uncomfortable,
Yes.
but the sound that they're
visceral.
playing when they're telling the story and stuff, like, I remember we did a retro review for The Skeleton Key, which
Yeah.
starts off with that same sort of vibe, and they show you everything. This was so much more unsettling to me, hearing everything and hearing the story and seeing the pain on the storyteller's face. It was intense. It was intense. Um, this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me, currently. I'm very happy about it. I'm so happy that I could look at the DNA of this movie and know that it had the potential, even with the zany premise on paper, to really deliver, and I think it did. And, I'm super excited about it, and I'm very much happy to champion Sinners, what I think is currently the best movie of the year, and will no doubt be a discussion piece for us for the remainder of the year here on The Meltdown. If you love movies like we do, we would love to hear from you, not only in the comment section, but also by subscribing, hitting that notification bell so you never miss when we go live with a live show every day, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We'd also love for you to visit mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round for that deposit bonus there at mybookie.ag. If you are a vampire fanatic, we also have our Nosferatu spoiler review up here on the channel for you to watch. I appreciate Hunter, I appreciate Tyler, and I appreciate all of you being here with us for this spoiler-filled review of Sinners.